You're listening to the Maono PD200X. This is an affordable microphone that has easily become one of my favorites because of the features and most of all because of the way it sounds. So I am using it right now via USB connection, which allows for some extra features, but it also supports an XLR connection, and it also supports recording through both interfaces at the same time. This is a very good microphone if you want to start out and you do not have an audio interface, because you can simply connect via the USB cable, which is of course included. And the connection is USB-C, by the way. Now, this does include also audio monitoring, so you can plug in your headphones into this microphone and it will sound pretty good. I actually have some high-end Sennheiser headphones, and this microphone is actually able to drive them, even though these are very hard to drive headphones. Now, they don't get super loud, but they do get more than comfortably loud for me. So that speaks really well for the DAC that's built into this microphone. Now, speaking of built-in features, this microphone also has a built-in DSP, which means that it will process the sound within the microphone, and it really does not have to rely on an audio interface or on your computer power to process the audio. So that's a really nice feature, and you only get that when you use it through the USB connection. So I'm going to show you in a minute how that looks like when you operate it through the Maono Link application. Now, there are several advantages to using this via USB connection, and most of these advantages rely on the features that you have on board of the microphone. Like I mentioned before, the DSP, which you can control via the application. And then the controls that you have here, there is a dial with which you can select the gain of the microphone, and it flashes in green when it is at maximum, as it is right now. And if I single press it, it turns blue. The little ring here turns blue. I don't think that camera captures it very well, but maybe you can. Anyway, you can control the gain of the headphone volume when using this little knob, which is in blue right now. So again, clicking once in the screen, you select the gain, and clicking it again, it's blue, and you select the monitor level or the volume of your headphones. So if for any reason you do not like to listen to yourself while you are speaking into the microphone, then you can just lower the volume of the mic monitor without affecting the gain. So that's actually really, really good. It also has a mute button right here. So the ring turns red when you activate the mute function. So that's actually really good. You do get a visual cue so that you don't forget that you have your microphone muted. All right. So as you can see, it does have an RGB ring right here. And as you know, this is very important to increase your FPS. Now, in all seriousness, you can turn it off completely, or you can just change the colors via a little button that's right here, which I don't really want to press because this I did press it anyway. So as you can see, every time I press it, it changes the color. I'm not sure if you can actually appreciate it, but let me take it back to the RGB style, which is actually my favorite. There we go. So it's just pulsing all the RGB colors around. You can also control these via the application, by the way, so that you don't have to hear that click in case you want to change it while you are streaming or while you are using the microphone on camera, because as you could listen, there is a lot of clicking when using the dials and the buttons and whatnot. All these features are only available when using via USB connection. If you use it via the XLR connection, you have access to none of that, only to the good sound quality, which I really think that this is a pretty good microphone, especially considering the price. And if you connect it via XLR, then you can control everything sound related via your audio interface, which you do not get access to any of the colors or the little RGB ring and whatnot. So this is a very good entry-level microphone because you do not need an audio interface. You can just connect it via the USB cable and have excellent results as you can listen. And if you connect it via XLR to an audio interface that you might want to upgrade to in the future, so if you want to kind of have a little bit more control over the audio by using an audio interface, you can upgrade to that before you actually need to buy another microphone. So you can kind of do the upgrades step by step in case your budget is very limited and you need to do that, one step at a time. So that's a excellent choice for this kind of entry-level microphone. So coming up next, I'm going to show you how to use the application and the different ways that the microphone's internal DSP will process the voice differently. So there are many neat options that I really like, and we're going to take a look right now. So like I mentioned, the application requires that you connect your microphone via USB, and all the onboard features are also required that you connect the microphone via USB. That includes the headphone monitoring, by the way. You cannot monitor your audio via this microphone or through the headphone jack of this microphone if you have it only connected via XLR. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but you can connect both XLR and USB cables and connect and record rather from those two different sources at the same time with this microphone. That's a really interesting feature that if you happen to need it for whatever reason, then you do have the option. I'm not showing that off, even though I do have an XLR cable right here, but I'm not showing that off because this XLR cable that I have is a very bad quality and it allows for interference when using it simultaneously with the USB cable. So there's that caveat. I do digress. However, this is not the microphone's fault. This is me having a not so good XLR cable. So back to application, as you can see, it is detecting the PD200X. So when I click on it, it resets the position to somewhere else in the screen, usually the middle, because I'm only capturing part of the screen. And anyway, this is what the application looks like. Now you do have two separate, or actually three separate sections to this application. Now, the first one is the standard configuration. And as you can see, there is an audio level monitor right here and pretty much tells you how loud the microphone is getting. Now, the gain control is right here. So if I lower this, it's going to start to lower the volume. And you can tell that on this advanced section right here, it is also changing it at the same time. This is because there are some features or some features that are global between both the standard and the advanced application. Now, as I will show you in just a second, the tone of the microphone, or the EQ as it is called in the advanced, they are kind of similar, but they are not equivalent at all, at least from what I was able to do in my testing. All right, so starting with the standard, we also have the monitoring. So here I cannot listen to myself anymore, and here I can listen to myself again. This is also shared between the standard and advanced. And the same goes for the microphone level, which I can set here, as well as using the dial like I mentioned before. Both the gain and the dial can be selected via the application or via the dial in the microphone. And again, both cases are only via USB. You cannot change the gain of the microphone or the mic monitoring if you are only connected via the XLR cable. Okay, so there's that. Now, this little section down here before I go to the advanced section is for only controlling the RGB ring. So I can, as you can see, I have it on the minimum. If I go one step down, then it goes to completely off. It's the same as if I kind of turn this off. The little ring on top, which tells me if the dial is controlling the gain or the monitoring, will remain on. So this is only for the ring. Now, if I go all the way up, as you can see, it is really, really bright. In some cases, in the camera, it's going to look too bright. In fact, let me just change the camera. So as you can see, it is really, really bright, and it's a little bit distracting. So if you feel that this is a little too bright for you, you can adjust the intensity of the brightness. Okay, so back to the application. I like to leave this at pretty much level 1, which is very, very discreet, but you can still appreciate the RGB pulsing. So this is very subjective. If you like the RGB, you can take advantage of it. If you like the sound of this microphone and the price, then you can simply turn it off if RGB colors really offend you. So there's that. Again, if you use it only via XLR, then you will not have any lights at all. So there's that. Now, going back to the tonality of this microphone, I am right now using the natural tone, which is, in my opinion, my favorite, at least to my voice and to my ears. This sounds the best. Now, there are other configurations here for the tone, and I will show you how each sounds. So you have been listening to the natural, and I'm going to now switch to the deep one. And now I am on the deep. Now, this can sound a little bit muddy for some people. However, if your voice lacks a little bit of that little bassy presence, then you can actually improve your voice by using this deep tone. This is now the original tone, and it sounds a little bit more flattering. Again, you can experiment with each of the tones because it might sound different for each type of voice. So for my personal voice, I kind of like the original, but I like the natural a little bit better. Okay, so that's just my opinion. I think that the original kind of does increase a little bit of that bass, but not too much. But it kind of sounds a little bit muddy, at least for my voice. Okay, and then there's the Legacy, which I think you can agree with me that it sounds very similar, or at least it's trying to sound like the Shure SM7B. It's like trying really hard to sound like that. If you like the podcasty sound, then you will really appreciate this sound. I think it sounds really, really nice, even though I personally prefer the natural tone, at least for my voice. Like I said, this is very subjective, so you can decide which one sounds better to you and which one sounds better for your personal voice. So it's really great that you have the option to do all this tinkering with the tone right within the application, and all the processing is done right inside the microphone. Some chip inside their security allows for that. So again, going back to the Legacy, very podcasty sound or broadcast sound. It's really nice in my opinion, but again, I prefer the natural one. Now I'm going to switch to the Advanced, and I just switched to the flat EQ. Now this is very close to the natural. However, this is a little bit more, how to say it, like a little more, I think the name Advanced is very fitting for this because you are actually presented with a graphical representation of the type of EQ that is being applied to the tone of your voice. In this case, the first one is completely flat, so there's no modification to either the low end or the high end or the mids, all right? If you click on the first or the second rather configuration, as you can see, this is a high pass filter, and it really depends on the type of voice that you have. If your voice is too deep, you might benefit from the high pass filter because it will reduce a lot of the low end. This is also very beneficial if you have background sounds like a fan or an AC that's running a little bit too high and your microphone is actually picking it up. Then you can help your sound by using the high pass filter. If you want your voice to sound a little bit clearer, then you can use the presence boost, and the presence boost basically just ups the mids a little bit so that your voice can sound a little bit clearer. If you want a more broadcasty or podcasty sound, then you can apply this. And then finally, the fourth configuration is a combination of the high pass filter as well as the presence boost. So I think it also sounds really, really nice, and it really depends on the type of need that you might have according to your environment and to your voice. If you want to kind of control the deep end and remove those background noises like fans and AC, you can apply this, and you can at the same time apply a little bit of presence through the mid frequencies. All right, so I'm going to go back to the flat EQ, and you also have a limiter. So this is, I don't know if this is a hardware level limiter. It might be because, again, it is right inside the microphone, and you can select just how aggressive the limiter is going to be. And if you lower it, then it's going to be more aggressive, actually. So this will basically prevent clipping. So if I bring it down and I start to really raise my voice, then it's not gonna be clipping. Okay, so I had to raise it back up again to kind of go to my normal sound level. All right, so you also get a compressor. So again, I'm not quite sure if this compressor, yeah, it actually brings down the volume a lot if you go down here. So it's really helpful to have a compressor right within the microphone. Personally, again, I like to use it on the standard and not in the podcasty legacy sound, but in the natural sound. To my ears, to my subjective opinion, I think it flatters my voice a lot better. So this is the configuration you get with the USB connection on this Maono. Now, it's also worth mentioning that with this microphone, you also get a boom arm. Now, the one that I'm using here is a low profile boom arm by 𝚑𝙎𝙬𝙧, which they sent to me. So in this case, it's a higher end boom arm, of course, so I prefer to use this one. But if you do not have a boom arm, then you can get the Maono PD200X bundled with a standard boom arm. And it's good that it's included. It's not a super high quality boom arm, but if you don't have one, then you can just get started right away and not spend any extra money. So in my opinion, for the price, the sound is excellent. There is some added value by including the boom arm, and you have the upgrade option when you connect via XLR and you upgrade to an audio interface in the future. If you want to get started, you can't go wrong with the Maono. And by the way, Maono did send this to me, so there's that disclaimer. They did not give me any talking points. They did not give me anything to speak, and they are not going to see this review before you do. So thank you to Maono for sending this for me to review. So I hope that you like this video. Thank you for watching up to this So thank you for watching this far. I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, God bless.